I'm Dave Adams. This is ClassroomUSA.net. It's part of USAHeartbeat.com, and we've started USAHeartbeat.com because we love America. And one of the things we want to do with USA Heartbeat is tell the history of America. So with the ClassroomUSA.net outreach, we want to look at what's going on in our history, what's going on, interesting sites in America. And some of the sites we first wanted to start with are some of the iconic sites. We're going to do a show about the Pony Express Museum. But today, right now, we're going to look at Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. And we're pleased to have Pat Smith, joining us from Oklahoma. And Oklahoma has a unique Route 66 museum, and you can see the front image of that museum on the bottom of the screen. Pat, welcome to Classroom USA.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.
So, Route 66, iconic in the history of America. America is all about open roads and traveling, and it's such a large country, and we're free to move here in America, unlike other countries. So we're free to go out and travel Route 66 back in the day and today. So as we look at Route 66, how did Route 66 start?
Well, it actually started in the 1920s. More and more automobiles were being made, and there became a need for a federal highway to connect our nation. So Cyrus Avery from Oklahoma formed a highway commission and began the development of Route 66. Route 66 became a national highway in 1926, and it has so much history through the years. As a matter of fact, here in 2026, it will be 100 years old, and we're having many, many events along the road to celebrate the centennial.
Let's talk about some of those events to celebrate the centennial. Are you going to have some at your museum, and when are those going to be?
Yes, we are. We're right now in the planning stage for the year 2026. I am on the Centennial Commission for the state of Oklahoma, and I know all the other states are getting on board as well, but we have already heard that in 2026, it will be a fabulous year for people traveling on the road due to the fact that it is 100 years old. And of course, as you know, we have numerous international visitors. So I do know and have visited with some of the visitors, and many people will be coming to America during that time period.
Yeah, they love America. I know people overseas love the American West. We'll talk about that when we do the Pony Express the visit. But they love traveling, and they love American things. Will Rogers is also part of the history of Route 66. In fact, Route 66 is called Will Rogers Highway. You can see a picture of the monument in front of your museum. Tell us about that.
Well, there was actually a lasting tribute to Will Rogers in 1935, and Route 66 was dedicated as Will Rogers Highway in honor of Will Rogers, a very famous American from Oklahoma, actually from Claremore, Oklahoma. And so he just was a promoter in so many ways that it just seemed proper to dedicate Route 66, the most famous historic highway in America, as Will Rogers Highway.
And Will Rogers has often said he never met a man he didn't like, and we can say we never met a road we didn't like. Now, this is the end of the trail at Route 66 in Santa Monica, California. Where does Route 66 start?
It starts in Chicago, Illinois, goes through 8 states and 3 time zones. And it goes through Illinois, Missouri, only 13 miles of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and the end of the trail at Santa Monica in California.
And for those of us who love history, Route 66 and traveling Route 66 is like taking a trip through American history. So I think it would be an awesome route to travel if you wanted to do a road trip and see what America was like back in the day.
Absolutely. We have thousands of people that start in Chicago and travel the entire length of the road.
Let's talk about some of the things that you have on display at the Route 66 Museum there at your city. Talk about some of the displays you have.
Okay, well, our museum actually tells the history of Route 66 from the inception of the road in the 1920s through the end of the road in the 1970s. So as you enter the museum, the first room is our introduction room. It gets all of our visitors acclimated for the actual tour of the museum. Then we go into the 1920s, the building of the road, when Route 66 became a highway in 1926. Then the 1930s, the Dust Bowl days, the Great Depression. This tells the history of how people had to leave and travel Route 66 to California, Arizona to find work from this part of end of the road. And so it became a migrant road. The Grapes of Wrath, which I know many of us are familiar with. The Highway Patrol came into place during this time period because so many people were traveling west. Our next gallery is the 1940s. In the 1940s, World War II stands out to us, and the rationing of food and gas so the soldiers would have enough. So this gallery tells about the beginning of the trucking industry in America to haul military supplies, the rationing of food and gas so the soldiers would have enough. Also, the bus lines came into place because many of the military men would travel by bus and many families due to the rationing of gas. Then the 1950s was a happier time in America. The war was over, and many of the dads wanted to take their families on Route 66. So the diner came into place, the beautiful neon lights, just a happier time in America. People wanted to travel, take a vacation. Until the 1950s, the diner wasn't really a place for children, or wasn't really in place, but it was such a colorful time, it became the time for families. Elvis Presley, of course, all the rock and roll music. Then in the 1960s, the beginning of the hippie culture in America and family vacations. So our gallery there tells about the hippie culture and family vacation. And we have the Beatles music in the 1970s. Seems very fitting. One part of the museum gallery in there also tells about, families traveling on Route 66. And many families wanted to go to Disney World in California. So Route 66 was a main road to travel. Then comes the 1970s. The interstates started coming into place. And so many of these towns and businesses along Route 66, they just died. And, people were traveling on the interstate. It took 5 interstates to replace Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica, California. But, even though Route 66 is no longer a main road to travel, it is the most famous historic highway in the world, is what our people from other countries tell us. And so today it is being revived. Many businesses are being restored. People are doing the Route 66 vacation from Chicago to Santa Monica. So Route 66 is, like I said, will soon be 100 years old, so it is definitely being revived as a main road to travel today.
And as people are coming out of the COVID pandemic and wanting to get out of the house and get out of Dodge and just travel, Route 66 is a great way to do that and to visit your museum.
Absolutely, and we've had many people share exactly what you just said, that they wanted to get out of the house and they're traveling Route 66, the open road. The international people love to come to America, as you know, because their cities are very crowded, and they love to travel the open road. We have thousands of Harley groups traveling in America. They're just enjoying life, traveling Route 66 and other famous highways in America.
So when did the Route 66 Museum in your city start?
It started in, actually we began planning for it in 1991, and it opened to the public in September of 1995.
And your history, there's a number of museums along the Route 66 route, but your museum does a very, very good job in telling the entire history from beginning to end.
There are other stops, but our museum is the largest history museum because we tell the history correctly and completely, because we are into history. And, there are other stops along the road, but this one, if you want to know the complete history of the road, this is the one to stop at. We also have one of the largest gift shops with a wide variety of items, and a lot of people come here just to shop.
Love American history and love America. As we look at the slide we're looking at right now, we talked about the open roads in America. This is just iconic. You see and America is such a great nation, from sea to shining sea, to see all kinds of different geological displays, such as this one. I believe it's in Arizona. And
Right.
the wide open spaces, I think people in Europe that are used to being close, living in places, just love the wide open spaces of America.
Yes, they do. We have one group from another country that comes here every year. They raise money to donate to a children's hospital. And their reward is traveling to America and traveling on Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica. And this group of Harleys stop every year.
Wow. So as they want to learn about America, is it American history? Is it what's going on in America now? What draws them to America to learn about this country?
First of all, they love to come to America because of the openness of the road. They can relax and travel and enjoy. And they do want to know more about the history. They probably know more about Route 66 than a lot of people in America. All the other countries have a Route 66 association in their country as well.
Amazing. The story of America. Instead of getting into a DeLorean time machine, we can just travel Route 66 and we can see America. The history that is stored in the businesses and the people along the route are just amazing. And I understand that the interstate system did replace Route 66 as the main route to travel, but a lot of cities have portions of Route 66 as part of their business loops.
Absolutely, and you know, revival is starting more and more for the centennial year. So many towns are reviving. In fact, there's been quite a bit of money allotted to revive businesses and places to promote Route 66 for the 100th anniversary.
Do you think that maybe one of the reasons why we want to go back into history is to kind of give us a break from all the conflict and the controversy that's going on today? We want to go back to a simpler time?
Yes, absolutely. And many of our visitors actually share that very thing with us, that they just want to relax, travel, and enjoy life in America.
All right. Which country in Europe, if you had to pick a country that we draw the most visitors from that come to your museum, are they from Europe, Japan? Where are they coming from?
From Europe, but we do have numerous people from Japan as well, and other countries. Every country has been represented here. The German people love it, but many people. I had one tour bus operator that called me. He was on the interstate, and he wanted me to write to the tour company in his country to let his bus stop at our museum. They just love it. They love to travel the open country in our wonderful nation.
As we take a look at the history, and you've been in the museum for a while now, I understand?
Absolutely, like 30 years.
Okay, so what are some interesting tidbits of history, some nostalgia that you can share with us about how it intersected with history? What happened in Route 66 as we could take a look at some interesting tidbits from history that you can share with us?
Just the fact of how it began and how it became so popular to travel, and then today, how the popularity of the road still remains. The happy times along the road, the happy memories, that type of thing.
Now, one of the things that I love about, and I used to own a radio station in Oregon, McMinnville, Oregon, and one thing we like to do is called street level radio. It's right on the street, it's on the air. Everyone has a story, and it's nice as we're looking for ways to connect America and connect Americans. One of the common denominators we have is our history, our shared history. And as we get out and actually meet people in a friendly setting, as we just travel and look at the history, it's a way for us to connect as Americans and see our joint history and the fact that we have so much in common.
Absolutely right. So true.
So, folks, Route 66, you can get your kicks on Route 66. In fact, let's talk about that particular song, and we are going to share a picture of a guy by the name of Bobby Troop. And he wrote the song, Get Your Kicks on Route 66. Tell us about Bobby.
Bobby Troop. Traveling on Route 66 with his wife after he had got out of service in 1946. And he wrote this song, Get Your Kicks on Route 66. And I just what a famous song. I don't feel like he realized how popular that song would be. In fact, when we opened the museum here in 1995, he was invited to our special event.
Really?
Yes. And, you know, how fitting, right? And that's just
Yes.
how we have an overview of our museum is through Bobby Troop, that when people are acclimated to, that may not know the history of the road, his song is playing, you know, in our first exhibit room because, I mean, that's what so many people are doing, getting their kicks on Route 66.
Now, the slideshow we're showing right now, or the slide picture we're showing, is Bobby Troop and a nurse. And Bobby Troop became famous for being one of the emergency room doctors in a show called Emergency, which is very popular in the 70s, popularized paramedics and fire departments. And that show helped to popularize the notion of having emergency responders or paramedics to come to the scene and help people and stabilize their condition and help save lives in America. So Bobby Troop not only was instrumental in helping popularize Route 66, he also was instrumental in helping to popularize a very successful way of saving people's lives in emergency medicine. And this is a story, or this is a picture of Bobby Troop as he was Dr. Joe Early in the show Emergency.
Right. Just a famous man, for sure, a great promoter of America.
So, closing thoughts, Route 66. What do you like about Route 66?
Well, I love it for one reason. Probably my first reason is I grew up on Route 66. So if you grew up on Route 66, you can relate to it more. And when I was growing up, the interstate was coming into place. So our home on the farm was right on Route 66, and then I could, as a child, I could see the interstate being built. So I never thought that I would actually be the director of the Route 66 Museum in Clinton, Oklahoma, but I've always loved history, and so here I am, and I can just relate to it very well because I remember it as a child, and it just has the greatest history, American history.
All righty. Tell us where your museum is located, its hours of operation, and the website address, if you could.
Our museum is located in Clinton, Oklahoma. It's called the Oklahoma Route 66 Museum because we are a part of the Oklahoma Historical Society. However, we're self-funding pretty much, so it's through admissions and gift shops how we stay open, so we certainly appreciate people that visit. Our museum is open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. until 5, closed on Sunday. The admission for adults is $7. Children 6 to 18, $4. Under 6 are free. And then we have a special senior discount, 62 and older, of $5. We also have group rates. We have a lot of bus tours. And so if you book ahead of time, there's a special group rate. Instead of $7 for individuals, if it's paid in one ticket, it's $5 each. We do have a wonderful gift shop. People love, our bus tours love to shop in our gift shop. We try to keep a wide variety of items and memorabilia for people to purchase as well.
So we're going to give, first, and as we close, we want to give people an idea about the route of Route 66 as we take a look at the map here, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, to Los Angeles. And so, as you can see, across America, it drove through the heartland of America, and there's a tremendous amount of history that we can learn on this route. And so take a week, take a month, and travel Route 66. And we're going to close with a picture of your museum so people know what it looks like. And tell us about the car that's in the lobby there. It looks like a Chevrolet.
Yes, this one is, but we actually trade our cars out every 6 months to a year. And so right now we have a Mustang Mach 1. And we traded out. We've had numerous cars. We're fortunate enough to have a friend that has 48 classic cars completely restored. So we changed these out to a different one. We've had Corvettes. We've had all kinds. So we're anxious to see what our next vehicle will be for the year 2023.
Okay. All righty. We do thank you, Pat, for visiting with us here on ClassroomUSA.net. In the future, when we have students asking questions, hopefully we can invite you back and have you on the show. And as we get our software fine-tuned, then we can have more of our students that actually will be online and ask questions. And thank you for sharing the story of America and Route 66. And we just want to encourage Americans to look for ways to come together as Americans. There's a lot of things to love about America. There are a lot of things that are good about America. And one of the commonalities we have is our joint history. Route 66, Pony Express. There's a number of other sites that we wish to visit and talk to people, like from Mount Saint Helens to Mount Rushmore to Mount Vernon and everything in between. We'll also possibly at some point talk to people about rodeos and hydroelectric dams and other points of interest across this landscape of this country we call America. Pat, you have any closing thoughts?
Just thank you so much for having me on the show, and we look forward to your visit at the Route 66 Museum in Clinton, Oklahoma during your travels from Chicago to Santa Monica.
ClassroomUSA.net is our website. I'm Dave Adams. Email me at dave@classroomusa.net if you have an idea about a subject that we can talk about in Classroom USA. Also, if you have any comments, email those to me as well. ClassroomUSA.net is a nonprofit, and our parent organization is USA Heartbeat, Inc. The parent organization website is usaheartbeat.com, and the purpose of USA Heartbeat is to promote Americans coming together in joint ways for love of country and to share our commonalities. And one of the commonalities we have is in our history. And so our hope and prayer is that Americans find new ways to come together and get along and enjoy life together as Americans in this great country. There's a tremendous amount of history we have to share in America, and one of the places of history is Route 66. ClassroomUSA.net. Let's learn something today. Have a good day.